The year is 711 AD. In just a few short weeks, an entire kingdom is about to vanish. Not by slow decay, but by one single catastrophic battle. For 3 centuries, the Visigoths had ruled Hispania, but under their new king, Roderic, the empire was rotten from the inside. Fractured by civil war, internal squabbles, and a bitter, restless nobility. Just across the strait, the Umayyad Caliphate was ready. A tidal wave led by the determined Berber commander, Tariq ibn Ziyad. His army, fast, fierce, and experienced. They were about to meet in the south near the Guadalete River, in a battle that would not just decide a war, but end an entire civilization. This is the royal disaster. Before we dive into the fatal mistake, a quick word. Please subscribe Historic War Lens. It helps us immensely to keep bringing these forgotten stories of decisive battles to life. Now, back to the betrayal. The invasion wasn't an accident. It was an invitation. The exiled, disgruntled Visigothic nobles, tired of Roderic, particularly those linked to the previous king, sent messages across the water. They wanted a power swap. They'd had a conquest. Tariq ibn Ziyad landed in April 711 near the huge rock that now bears his name. Jebel Tariq, the Rock of Gibraltar. His initial force was small, around 7,000 to 10,000 light infantry and Berber cavalry. They valued speed and maneuverability. Roderic, meanwhile, was far north, fighting a minor rebellion. News of the invasion forced Roderic to divert his entire available army south. He managed to assemble perhaps 25,000 men. A larger force, yes, but critically, a political disaster. It was a collection of heavy Visigothic cavalry and levies whose loyalty was questionable at best. Roderic's great army was heavy, slow, and full of traitors. Tariq's small force was fast, fierce, and united by zeal. The armies met near the Guadalete River. Roderic, overconfident in his numbers, lined his troops for a straightforward annihilation of the invaders. Tariq knew he couldn't win by force. He relied on strategy, maneuverability, and one crucial psychological edge. Roderic's known enemies were fighting with him. According to one source, Tariq delivered a famously inspiring speech to his men, reminding them they had no retreat. They burned their boats, or at least, the idea of retreat was burned. Before you is the enemy, behind you is the sea. Roderic's fatal error. He placed his most unreliable troops on the flanks. These were the forces of Count Julian and the supporters of the former king, who were secretly communicating with Tariq. The battle likely began with several days of skirmishing. Tariq's light cavalry were masters of the feigned retreat, baiting the heavy, armored Visigoths into exhausting, fruitless chases. Roderic committed his best men, the royal guard, to the center, trying to hammer through Tariq's line. The fighting was brutal, possibly lasting an entire week as they fought for ground. But Tariq was waiting. And then, the moment of pure, decisive treachery. On the last day, the critical moment. The disloyal forces on the wings, the nobles who had invited the invasion, did not just retreat. They abandoned the field entirely. According to one source, they weren't just running away. They were withdrawing as part of a prearranged signal. They marched off, leaving Roderic's loyal soldiers completely surrounded and vulnerable to a massive flanking maneuver. Tariq's forces, seeing the collapse, surged forward. The light cavalry and infantry, fresh and disciplined, flowed into the open gaps. Roderic's heavy, slow-moving center was now encircled. It was a rout turned into a slaughter. King Roderic, at the very heart of the disaster, fought on desperately, knowing the fate of his kingdom rested on his life. He was a king at the center of a burning effigy of his own rule. Roderic himself vanished. Some say he was struck down on the field. Others claim he drowned trying to flee the carnage across the river. His magnificent battle horse and armor were found abandoned on the riverbank. With the king confirmed lost, The Visigothic command structure dissolved instantly. The remnants of the army broke. This wasn't a defeat. It was a sudden, violent extinction of the ruling class. The Battle of Guadalete didn't just win a province. It won a continent. The defeat was so absolute, so complete, that there was no cohesive power left to organize a defense. Tariq and the reinforcements led by his superior, Musa ibn Nusayr, simply marched through the peninsula. They captured major cities like Cordoba and Toledo with minimal resistance. The local nobility and clergy simply cut deals and surrendered. In less than 5 years, nearly the entire Iberian Peninsula was under Umayyad control. The battle had dissolved one kingdom and given birth to a totally new cultural, religious, and political entity, Al-Andalus. The treachery of the Visigothic nobles, according to one source, did them no good. They were granted their lives and lands, but quickly sidelined by the caliphate. Their greed had destroyed their kingdom, only for them to become minor subjects in a foreign one. Guadalete remains a timeless lesson in military history. A small, disciplined, and unified force will always defeat a large but divided army. Disloyalty is a force multiplier for the enemy. Tariq and his army achieved in 1 week what other invaders had failed to do for centuries. They didn't just win a battle. They drew a new line on the map of world history. The Christian resistance would eventually rally in the mountainous north, beginning the centuries-long process known as the Reconquista. But that story only exists because of the utter destruction wrought by the treachery at Guadalete. If you want to see the long, brutal fight to reclaim Iberia and how that resistance grew from a tiny corner of the mountains, let us know in the comments below. And please, subscribe Historic War Lens. It truly helps us to keep bringing you these deep dives. Thanks for watching.